Most people fear losing everything. But what if starting from zero is actually your greatest blessing? What if the thing you're most afraid of is the thing that will set you free? There's freedom in having nothing to lose, and there's power in having everything to rebuild. Let me show you why rock bottom might be the most solid foundation you'll ever stand on. The fear of loss. We spend most of our lives in accumulation mode, building careers, accumulating possessions, developing relationships, creating stability, constructing an identity made of what we have, what we've achieved, what we're known for. And all of this accumulation creates something invisible but powerful: attachment. We become attached to our possessions, attached to our status, attached to our image, attached to our comfort, attached to the life we've built. This attachment feels natural. It feels like caring about your life. It feels like being responsible. But underneath the attachment is fear. The fear of losing what you've accumulated, the fear of having to start over, the fear of being reduced to zero. This fear controls you more than you realize. It shapes your decisions, it limits your choices, it keeps you in situations that no longer serve you because leaving would mean losing what you've invested. It prevents you from taking risks that could lead to growth because failure would mean losing what you've built. You're not really free. You're a prisoner of what you have. And the bigger your accumulation, the smaller your freedom. But what if zero isn't the catastrophe you think it is? What if it's liberation? The myth of stability. We cling to comfort because it feels safe, but comfort often keeps us trapped. There's a myth in our culture, the myth of stability, the idea that if you just accumulate enough money, enough security, enough comfort, you'll finally be safe, you'll finally be able to relax, you'll finally be free from worry. But look at people who have achieved that stability. Are they free, or are they more anxious than ever? Anxious about maintaining what they've built, anxious about protecting what they have, anxious about any change that might threaten their comfort. The stability they sought has become a prison. They can't make bold moves because they have too much to protect. They can't take risks because they have too much to lose. They can't change because change threatens stability. This is the paradox. The more you accumulate, the less free you become. The more you have to maintain, protect, and fear losing. The comfortable you get, the more uncomfortable any disruption to that comfort becomes. The Stoics understood this profoundly. They understood impermanence. Everything you have today can vanish tomorrow. Your possessions can be taken, your status can be lost, your relationships can end, your health can fail, your circumstances can collapse. Nothing external is permanent, nothing you've accumulated is guaranteed to stay. This sounds terrifying, but it's actually liberating. Because when you truly accept impermanence, when you stop deluding yourself that anything external is permanent, you stop building your identity on shifting sand. You realize what you are can never be taken. Who you are at your core, your character, your values, your internal state, your capacity to respond to circumstances. That's what's real. That's what's permanent. That's what you actually are. Everything else, it's temporary, borrowed, on loan from the universe, here today, possibly gone tomorrow. And when you internalize this, really internalize it, not just understand it intellectually, zero stops being your nightmare. It becomes neutral, just a state, a starting point, a clean slate. The clarity of zero. To restart from zero is to see the world without illusions. When you have nothing, you see things clearly. You're not filtering reality through the lens of protecting what you have. You're not distorting truth to maintain comfort. You're not lying to yourself to preserve your image. You see what's real, what actually matters, what's worth building towards. Most people never get this clarity because they're never forced to zero. They accumulate steadily, never experiencing the clean slate of having nothing, and in that accumulation, they often build the wrong things. They pursue goals that don't actually matter to them because they inherited those goals from culture, family, or conditioning. They construct lives that look successful from the outside, but feel empty from the inside. But zero gives you clarity. When everything is stripped away, what remains is essential. When you have nothing to defend, you can finally be honest about what you actually want, who you actually are, what actually matters to you. This is the hidden gift of loss. It removes everything false and reveals what's true. It strips away the persona and exposes the person. It destroys what was built on unstable foundations and leaves only what's built on bedrock. And from that clarity, you can rebuild correctly. Not according to what you're supposed to want, not according to what others expect, not according to what's socially valued, but according to what's actually true for you. This is power. The power to build a life that's genuinely yours, not one you've inherited or adopted or constructed to impress others. Rebuilding the Stoic way. Let me show you exactly how to rebuild from zero, not just practically, but philosophically, because how you approach zero determines whether it destroys you or liberates you. 1. Detach from identity. You are not your possessions or your past. The first and crucial step, recognize that what you lost was never actually you. Your job wasn't you, your wealth wasn't you, your status wasn't you, your achievements weren't you. Those were things you had, things you did, roles you played, but they weren't your essence. Who you are is the awareness behind all of that, the consciousness that experienced those things, the person who can exist with or without them. This isn't just philosophy, this is practical survival. Because if you believe you are what you lost, then losing those things means losing yourself, and that's unbearable. That creates identity crisis, depression, despair. But if you understand that you are not what you lost, that you are the constant presence that remains after everything else has changed, then loss is just loss. Painful, perhaps, difficult, certainly, but not existentially threatening. You're still here. You're still you. You can still build. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." At zero, you have the opportunity to make your life what you genuinely want it to be, rather than what it became through accumulated choices you made when you didn't know yourself as well. 2. Accept reality fast. The quicker you accept, the faster you rebuild. The biggest enemy of rebuilding is denial, the refusal to accept that what happened actually happened, the bargaining, the what-ifs, the replaying of how things could have gone differently. This denial is understandable. It's a natural stage of grief, but it's also a trap. Because while you're in denial, you're not moving forward. You're stuck in the past, trying to mentally undo what can't be undone. You're wasting energy that could be used for rebuilding on wishful thinking about what's already gone. The Stoics had a practice for this, immediate acceptance. When something happened they couldn't control, they practiced accepting it immediately. Not passively, not happily, but factually. This is what is, now what? Not, this shouldn't have happened, not, if only things were different, but this is the reality, what's my response?
This acceptance is not resignation, it's realism. It's the recognition that reality doesn't care if you accept it or not. It is what it is. Your acceptance or denial doesn't change what happened. It only changes how much energy you waste in resistance versus how much energy you can redirect towards response. The faster you move from this shouldn't be happening to this is happening, now what, the faster you rebuild. Every day spent in denial is a day not spent in reconstruction. Every hour spent wishing things were different is an hour not spent making things better. Accept fast, move forward immediately. Not because what happened was okay, but because dwelling on it doesn't change it. 3. Discipline your energy. Every hour wasted on regret slows your rebirth. At 0, you have limited resources, limited money, limited support, limited time, limited energy. You can't afford to waste any of it on unproductive.
When everything is gone, you finally realize you were the foundation all along. This is the ultimate lesson of 0, the thing you discover when everything external is stripped away. All along, you thought your worth came from what you had, your job, your money, your possessions, your status, your relationships. You thought you were the sum of these external things. But now they're gone, and you are still here. You're still conscious, still capable, still able to think, choose, act, learn, grow, build. Which means you were never actually the things you lost. You were always the person who had those things. And that person still exists. Diminished perhaps, shaken certainly, but intact, whole, still you. This realization is profound because it means you can never truly lose yourself. External circumstances can take everything you have, but they can't take who you are, your character, your values, your essence. You are the foundation, not your possessions, not your achievements, not your circumstances. You. And foundations can support new structures. Foundations remain even when everything built on them collapses. Foundations are what allow rebuilding. You thought you lost everything, but you didn't. You lost what was built on you. You remain. And from that foundation, from who you actually are, you can build again. This time wiser. This time more intentionally. This time with the clarity that only comes from having been reduced to 0 and discovering you're still standing. Starting wiser. Restarting from 0 is not failure. It's freedom disguised as loss. You're not starting over, you're starting wiser. This is crucial to understand. 0 the second time is not the same as 0 the first time. Even though externally you might be in the same place, no resources, no status, no stability, internally you're completely different. You have experience now, hard-won, painful experience, but experience nonetheless. You know things you didn't know before. You've learned lessons you couldn't learn any other way. You've developed capabilities you didn't have before. The first time you started, you were naive, optimistic perhaps, but also blind to many realities. You made certain mistakes because you didn't know better. You built in certain ways because you hadn't yet learned those ways were unstable. But now you know. You've been through the collapse. You've seen what works and what doesn't. You've learned what's essential and what's decoration. You've discovered what's permanent and what's temporary. This knowledge is valuable
more valuable than any external resource you lost, because knowledge stays with you. It can't be taken. It compounds. It informs every future decision, every future action, every future build. So yes, you're at zero externally, but internally, you're wealthy. Wealthy with wisdom, wealthy with experience, wealthy with clarity about what actually matters. And that internal wealth is what will allow you to rebuild faster, better, more sustainably than you built the first time. Because you're not starting as the person you were. You're starting as the person you've become through the loss. And that person is stronger than the person who had everything. The invitation to rebirth. If you've lost something but refuse to quit, you're already winning. Most people, when they hit zero, quit. They take it as a sign that they weren't meant to succeed. They interpret the loss as an excuse to stop trying. But you're still here, still reading this, still fighting, still refusing to accept defeat. That refusal, that continued presence, that persistent will, that determination to keep going even after everything fell apart, that's the difference between people who use zero as an ending and people who use zero as a beginning. You're in the second group. You've been reduced to zero, but you haven't been reduced to nothing, because you still have you. And as long as you have that, you have everything you need to rebuild. It won't be easy. Starting from zero never is. You'll face obstacles. You'll experience setbacks. You'll have moments of doubt where you wonder if it's worth it. But here's what you need to remember in those moments. You've already survived the worst. You've already been through the collapse. You've already lost what you were afraid to lose, and you're still here. Which means you're stronger than you thought, more resilient than you knew, more capable than you believed. The person who survives zero has a different kind of strength than the person who's never been tested. A deeper confidence, a more authentic power, because you know what you're made of. You've been reduced to essence and discovered that essence is enough. So rise, not because it will be easy, not because success is guaranteed, not because it won't hurt. Rise because you can, because you're still here, because zero is just a number and numbers can increase. Rise because you were the foundation all along, and foundations can support new structures. Rise because rebirth is not just possible, it's happening right now, in you. This is mind armor. This is where zero becomes starting point. This is where loss becomes liberation. This is where you discover that you were never the things you had. You were always the person who could build them. Welcome to rebirth. You're not starting over, you're starting wiser, and that changes everything.